Alright, with that being said and out of the way. Alright, so continue on your first point.
First point,
Yes.
that one being the changing of the stand stats in accordance to damage. I
Yeah.
have to specify that I do not mean that the parameter itself changes, but the performance of the stand will greatly decrease.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this with Jotaro attacking Killer Queen after he was damaged. His initial attack was way weaker and slower. Later, Kira was unable to react to him.
So you're saying that like
We
when
also see that Polnareff's stand stats are, if he is damaged, like he was in the fight with Vanilla Ice, his stand was not able to properly propel himself, while in his fight with Diavolo he was able to be thrown into the air.
wait a minute. So you're trying to say that the performance just goes down, which honestly I don't really agree with. If anything, I could just attribute that to just the plot induced stupidity. So here's my proof, right? Of the like stats going down. Like, so you're saying that the performance goes down, which let me see here. I'm gonna pull that up real quick. Nah, because mainly it's because of the user is weakened that the like the stand right the performance doesn't go down. Here I'm going to show proof because I have three pieces of evidence to support this, right? So you said that you're not going to refer to the stand stats at all. You're just referring to their performance only. So here you go. So the
Yeah,
first
that point
example,
of
right?
mine was a little confusing.
What? What do you mean? Wait, AwankenedDio, I didn't catch what you said. What did you say?
I said that my earlier argument was a bit confusing. I did not properly point it out.
Okay. But either way, though, when it comes to the performance, though, even then you could still tie that to this like the performance and stance stats are literally cohesive with each other in the end of the day. There's because if you say their performance goes down, that must mean that their stance stats also go down too. They're cohesive. They're together basically. You can't separate one thing from the other because that's the main foundation of the JoJo series is the stance stats. That's what they revolve around like as a whole, right? And you can't really eliminate that from the argument though. It's a the stand stats are the biggest factor when it comes to like part 3 to 6 of JoJo. It's very important that everyone like constantly refers to because even then like yeah you still have to like prove to me like because since they're you know like very well written together right like with the stand stats you have to prove to me like after like let's say Star Platinum's in a fight with a guy, you have to prove to me that his stance stats change like you give me the stance stats before the fight and then after the fight because they
Well,
definitely
for
don't
an
get weaker.
example,
Because even you said that like when let's say here I'll post it too when Jotaro's up against sheer heart attack he gets like bowled by it right, but in the end of the day he still like blitzes Killer Queen and like Yoshikage Kira like no difficulty. His
initially he is weakened. This is dependent on him being bloodlusted to some extent.
Bloodlusted? Now Jotaro's not bloodlusted. He always holds back in the series. He wasn't trying to kill Kira. That was just normal Star Platinum. You have to prove to me he was trying to kill him.
I did not necessarily mean that he was out to kill him per se, but it would be assumable that in such a desperate situation he would hold back less than usual. Otherwise he would be potentially dead.
Wait, what? You mean Kira? Like hold back? Well, yeah, like Jotaro always holds back in his fights. He still has the highest speed in the series, though.
Well, Made in Heaven excluded herefrom.
What? You
That
said
is Made in Heaven excluded.
Maiden Heaven excluded. I'm talking like in terms like sheer like raw stats. Well, and then again, Maiden Heaven does leave the stat board, but still, I'm talking conventionally like how Star Platinum is usually the strongest stand like physically in the series, like in both in terms of strength,
In that
speed.
regard, we do agree.
Okay, so that regard you do agree. Okay, I mean, But yeah, like the stand stats are very important though. You can't like separate the performance like in the beginning from the original stand stats. If anything, that just relies on the user, not the stand, if that makes any sense.
This is in fact coherent, what you just said.
Okay. So are we going to be good on the first point? Or is there anything else we want to discuss?
I would say that the first point was more of a miscommunication there, and you are basically right about what you said about it.
Okay. All right, we're going to be on to point two. So you said that every stand being like faster in light to massively faster in light is questionable, and also you had something made in heaven. Would you like to elaborate?
I didn't understand the last part.
Oh, I said here. Sorry, we gotta roll back up. So I said every stand like being. This is your point, by the way. You said every stand being faster in light to massively faster in light is questionable, right? And also you said things about like made in heaven.
Well, the made in heaven part, we let that be for now, and we go to the part with the stand speeds, the
Okay.
usual ones.
So what about?
And I said that it is questionable due to stands like strength, for example, or in this case also Wheel of Fortune. The ability is directly linked to an object or vehicle, and if we are excluding, for example, the gasoline bullets, then the speed of Wheel of Fortune is not that overwhelmingly faster than a normal car, as it seems. At least there's nothing suggesting that.
So that's what you're saying about Wheel of Fortune, like saying it's not that fast in terms of how fast it travels, you mean?
I mean, travel speed in JoJo is basically a joke in comparison to movement speed.
Well, actually, I have to actually have proof that travel speed is linked with like how fast like certain things like move. Like for example, right, Silver Chariot. Not only is it faster than light, like massively in travel speed, but also combat and reaction speed. I do have proof for that, right? And for stands like what was it, the car one that you mentioned? Those were at the beginning of part three where basically. Uh, oh my God! Wait, no talking to Loomis. But anyways, so basically, right, with those stands like the car and stuff, those are at the part three when like Araki was still writing the idea, and I can usually like argue that that's just an outlier. But like the majority of stands usually followed like the rule of like the travel speed and like combat and reaction speeds faster than light. Would you like me to prove that?
I think that does not need any proof.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
I said that doesn't need any proof.
Like so like does that mean you're good with it? Like you accept the point that all
Once again, a point that I agree on. I did not say that stands in general are slow. I just said that every stat being faster than light is just, narratively speaking, it is questionable.
Okay, so narrative you think it's questionable, but when it comes to scaling you just agree with it completely though. Is basically what you're saying?
I wouldn't say completely, as there are exceptions, but generally speaking, exceptions are set to prove the rule.
Okay. So are you gonna move on? So you want to move on from the point of that? So you're pretty much good with it? Just
Yeah.
making sure. Okay then. Well then. So what? You say you're not gonna go over Made in Heaven at all?
I didn't say that. I said that we can go over that, but not when I'm explaining this part. What about Made in Heaven did I say that was questionable in your mind?
The way you just described Made in Heaven, basically your argument, right, was that it didn't have like the speeds I was saying it had. Like I said, it had immeasurable speeds because literally the guy is like, fucking accelerating time, and he went back in time before Jolene even left. Like he said
I
that
said
like
that the explanation was rather... Can you point out exactly the sentence where I said that it was not as fast?
so here, let me get this right. So at the end, right, you said that like that means like anything slower than the speed of light will never be sucked into the black hole, which is a singularity point that you're referring to.
That is how a usual black hole works, but I
Yeah.
explicitly explained that Made in Heaven and its gravity is basically above a normal black hole.
Yeah,
Also,
and
you
then
have to consider,
What?
since Made in Heaven speeds up everything, the speed of light will also increase.
Mm-hmm. So what does that
So
even mean in the end of
basically,
the
at
day?
one point, the speed of light would be superior to the speed of star platinum, even though star platinum usually would be far beyond the speed of light.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to that speed, though, when you say like it only has infinite speed, I just disagree with that because it has more than that.
I did never say that it has not that it does not have infinite speed. I just said that the infinite speed is basically merely reached at the end of it.
Yeah.
And that is the moment when the singularity point is reached.
Yeah, but then again, like with all the stuff you explain about the universe and like being drawn into like the whole at the end, right? Like most of that stuff that you say is kind of like headcanon because it's never described that way at all, and like for Made in Heaven or like how it's going in. That's why I said you're appealing to
It
reality.
is not necessarily described that way.
Yeah,
But
it
at the
isn't.
end we see everything being drawn towards Made in Heaven. And technically this is all cohesive with how black holes work.
Yeah, but he's
And the
not a
stand
black hole in
was
himself.
based on
That's the
black
problem, though. Like that's not like here. I could post it right now. Here, I'm gonna post it because that's not how like at all like works. Let me show you. So here, let's see. Posting the explanation. All right, here you go. Like right here. Okay. You see it?
This is basically how Made in Heaven works.
Yeah, like it's literally you can see right there accelerating time to infinity. But the thing is, when you try to apply like the black hole logic, we never even like see. Think about it like this, right? If it was really the singularity point they were being sucked into, they would all have died. Because you know, a black hole. What's inside a black hole is just a lot of fucking burning stars. Nothing can escape it, though. This is literally just
Well,
fiction. You
many
can't apply that.
physicists say that the singularity point of a black hole is where our known physics stop to be applying, or better said, we cannot define the rules within the singularity point.
Yeah.
And we already had that stand users are moving at speeds that are faster than light, so they have a higher chance of surviving this.
Not just faster than light,
Technically.
immeasurable though. You can't quantify that. He literally goes back in time. That's immeasurable.
Well, as I said, it uses the basic system. It uses the concept of the observer of the black hole here.
The what? It doesn't matter
I
what
never
concept they're using. This is like fiction. Like that doesn't apply at all. You're like appealing to reality. You like there's no getting around it. He literally just goes back in time. He says that he can only move in it. Accelerates time to infinity. Goes back in time. You can even see it. Like that gives the whole arrow right, and even explains that like Jolene was still in prison. And it explains that like he can move and like not only is like his stand moving that fast, it's also Poochie moving that fast because he can move. Like it's stated that Poochie can move within those speeds. Basically, he's that fast. That's like immeasurable.
This is
That's not
literally
like way
due to
faster.
him deciding what is sped up.
No, it's not. It's not. Oh my goodness, dude. Everything, time. It literally says time is accelerating to infinity. It's not just the whole universe, though. It's time.
So you're arguing that he is not capable of controlling it at all, except that it speeds up.
No, I'm saying. Oh my goodness, I'm saying right that he's using his ability right, and at the end of the day, his ability is also amping him, and time in the universe that's moving, accelerating to infinity to go back in time. That's why he has a measurable speed. He's not faster than like he's not like he's way above faster than light. Is what I'm trying to say, and he's above infinite speed. That's what I'm trying to say.
Then how exactly does gravity come into play here?
It doesn't matter how
is
gravity
mostly
comes
a
into
metaphor,
play.
I'm aware of that, but in a sense, gravity was needed for the plan.
Okay, can you quantify gravity then? In that verse?
What exactly do you mean by quantify
Because
gravity?
you're saying like he needed gravity to do this, but in the end of the day, his stand's the one that's doing this. Like sure, like it grabs some concepts in their verse of what gravity is, but clearly their gravity is different than our gravity. Like he's literally like going back in time, like accelerating, time to infinity. That's immeasurable. Like you can't like put like logic and real life reason in that. That's just appealing to reality.
I mean, if we would apply full-on logic here, then stand users would already be traveling back in time,
What? No.
just through their speed.
No,
No, I said
stands
if
would.
we would fully apply logic, that would be the case. I
Oh,
didn't say it is the case.
okay, just making sure. But yeah, so do you get the point though? That he's just moving back in
Getting the
time through
point.
speed?
Well, there must be a component to the ability itself that is not just speed, but
It
let's
literally
just
is
agree
speed. You
that
can
it's
read the
not half the
stats for
fun.
yourself. Even Iraqi said it was infinite. Like I'm not like he's not like at the very end like
Well,
that, but like in the our speed meta is just immeasurable. Like it's just the way he describes and what's shown and like how it just is. It doesn't really matter how everything else is described. He's just doing it through sheer raw speed.
well, he's not doing it due to being fast himself
He
alone, but
is.
through speeding up the universe.
No, he is. He's accelerating time. Okay, he's accelerating time to infinity, the universe to infinity, and it says that he can move within it, same as his stand. That's doing the same thing. It has the energy, and it's moving that fast too. He literally time traveled. Like I can
I
even
have
show
a
you where
strong
he.
feeling that the two of us are talking in two separate directions here.
What do you mean?
I mean that our arguments, we are not getting one step closer to one another here.
Yeah, but I'm proving a point that he actually did do this though. Like it's right there, it's shown and said. And what like so? Wait, just making sure. You said that like every span, like right, that moves at the speed of light. You saying that they're capable of time travel or something? Or I'll just make sure I didn't mishear that.
No, I said that if we are applying real world physics that do not apply here, but if we would do that, then every object that exceeds the speed of light would travel back in time.
Okay. And you're not defending that motion, right?
I think I do have no need to defend that part. It
Okay.
has nothing to do with the debate itself at this point.
Okay. But yeah, that's just the point right there, though. Like, it's quite literally shown. I mean, I could like read some descriptors out for you, even more if you want. Like, I can quote you on this, right? So, basically, even says it itself, right? So, the Earth, the Moon, basically the whole universe, to increase the speed of time, no living organism is able to keep up. The only one who can move freely within it is Poochie, and essentially God himself.
Moving freely within it
Yes.
part. That do you apply this to before reaching the singularity point or afterwards here?
All of it, man. Like you can see, it applies to everything. You can even see the top scan right, which just says Made in Heaven 9, and you see Poochie in the middle. Everything, all that thing right there, the whole arrow that applies to him. He's moving that fast, along with his stand.
Well, technically, this would open a whole new argument on whether or not anything except Poochie can move freely at any point.
No, but I don't think I think I see where you're trying to get at, right? You're trying to basically go at the word like only he can move freely within it. Now, when it comes to that, I think I see what you're trying to get here. Basically, you're trying to say that Jotaro is moving like he's still like moving in it. No, he's not. I'm talking about like the speed part. That's what it means when he's moving freely within it. That's why the speed is literally changed to infinite, and he's just blitzing literally everybody. That's what it means, not
I mean,
not
outspeeding
that.
someone alone has nothing to do with the concept of someone being unable to move freely.
What are you talking about? Now I'm actually confused. What are you talking about? Because that I literally just explained why that doesn't like apply really. Here I can even put this even more. So
Give me a second to go over this.
dang, you didn't even read my scans.
What?
I said you
I
didn't
did
even
not
read.
hear that.
I said, dang, you didn't even read my scans. Yeah, go over again.
I read through it a few times, but right now I'm looking for what exactly you're meaning because I was going over the stand stat chart before.
Yeah, go over to the ability, like, and just look down, and you'll see that to increase the speed of time, no living organism is able to keep up. By that they mean in speed. And no, the only one who can
Here's the
move freely
Manga
within it
page.
is
It states
Poochie himself.
only living thing can move on, not dead.
What?
I'm reading out what the manga's page states. The one where Made in Heaven is basically shown as a loop. Only the living can move on, not the dead, accelerating the speed to the time to infinity.
Okay.
The end of the universe. Singularity point. Slowing down of accelerated time. The emergence of the new universe. The birth of a new course of history.
Okay.
And what do we have here? If the creation of the stars is inevitable, then there should exist another planet in the galaxy that is exactly like Earth. An atmosphere similar to the Earth will appear around the planet. Organism will be born. Dinosaurs will go extinct. It will generally follow the same fate as the that of planet Earth. A new age begins. The organism traveled of the course of Although a new age has begun, it is a new world in which the arrival of these time-traveling organisms have already predestined. I'll go to the other one.
Okay.
Physics has proven that there is a special relationship between gravity and time. For example, the stronger the gravitational power, the slower time moves. It is impossible to explain this phenomenon in great detail, but Stairway to Heaven's stand ability utilizes the gravitational power of the Earth and the Moon, basically the whole universe, to increase the speed of time. No living organism is able to keep up. The only one who can move freely within it is Poochie, and essentially God himself.
Okay.
Now this one is literally stated, but it explains also that the gravitational pull is responsible for this.
Yeah, but that's how
And
their
if he
gravity
would merely
works.
increase gravity,
That's
if he
how
would
their
merely
gravity works,
increase,
though.
I guess this argument is rather.
No, because literally,
How
it
should
doesn't
I
matter
explain?
that their physics have, like, what their physics got with gravity, though. It doesn't change the fact that not only is his stand the main cause of this, right, it's also amping Poochie himself that is moving that fast and is accelerating time to infinity. And he's the only one who can move at those speeds and travels back in time. Like, it doesn't get around that. I don't care, like, all the explanations of it, because this is a hard, like, stone cold fact that he does travel back in time. Like, there's no getting around that. Literally nothing.
Have I ever tried to get around that?
Yeah.
Where?
Where? You literally say, like, in the comment section that it's, like, infinite speed or something. Or you say that, like, you try to apply some other logic to it. If you see the DMs, well, not DMs, the YouTube comment sections.
Quote it.
Quote it? Okay. Give me a sec here. Alright. Let me see here. So, it says that you said it's okay for some of these stands to move at these incredible speeds, that being just a few times the speed of light at best, but simply doesn't make sense for the other stands. That's one right there. And right again, you said Made in Heaven possesses a massive speed as a stand, has infinite speed like stat, right? Only comes to show once in the event horizon crossed and the singularity point is reached. Before that is merely above or far above light speed. So those arguments.
Where does that deny that he went back in time?
Oh, where did you deny they went back in time? No, I'm not arguing the point of what you denying he went back in time. I'm just arguing the point that measurable speed, which is above infinite speed.
I did not deny that. I just said that its speed increases gradually.
Oh, his speed increases gradually. That's what you want to argue now?
Are you denying that fact?
What? That his speed increases gradually?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not going to deny that fact because it says accelerating time to infinity. So he's still speeding up, but it still doesn't change the fact that he's measurable by that.
Have I stated that he isn't technically immeasurable?
That he isn't technically immeasurable?
No, I said, have I ever argued that he wouldn't be immeasurable?
That he wouldn't be immeasurable? Let me look here. I'm pretty sure to see.
What?
Huh? Give me a sec. I would say the thing is, right, that you didn't make clear when you did disagree with. So technically, you did disagree with the immeasurable statement because you said my explanation of Made in Heaven was questionable.
I called the explanation questionable because it basically did not properly explain it.
Yeah, but the only thing I ever said about that, the explanation that I did give, right, that made me at least believe that you disagree with my notion, right, was in that video. I literally stated that, what was it? Yeah, Jolene, right, she threw a knife at Poochie, right, and it tagged him, and I said, keep in mind, he has immeasurable speeds because he can travel through time. I mean, I basically gave the sum of it. That's the main part that's very important about it.
I mean, the part with the knife was basically due to objects still traveling at this increasing speeds.
No, but Jolene was the one who threw that knife. Even then, right?
She
Poochie is still faster. Poochie is still supposed to be faster than all those objects that are going around him still.
Once again, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that it was not Jolene's raw speed that made her able to throw this knife effectively. It was shown that the bullets that were shot, for example, were massively faster. We have seen a guy's jaw being ripped out by a baseball.
Yeah?
So objects during Made in Heaven are accelerated.
So how about this? So in that point, right, what about Emporio's gun then?
I just mentioned that.
Yeah, but the thing is, so the knife tagged Poochie, but the gun couldn't tag like Poochie. So there's a clear contradiction here.
If they're all try to aim at something moving at this speed.
What? Okay, you said that the knife, right, is supposed to be moving around those speeds of Made in Heaven because it's accelerating everything, right? And you're saying that's why it tagged Poochie, but then we have Emporio with a normal gun. He literally shoots at Poochie, and Poochie dodges it, no diff. And then Jolene saves him. Huh? Point blank.
What distance?
Point blank. I could show that. It literally does it point blank. Do you want me to provide a scan of that?
What is normally faster, the bullet of a gun or a knife thrown by a over light speed stand?
Well, it doesn't matter going by your logic because you just said that everything is accelerating, right, including those knives, and that the fact that literally a normal bullet that should be accelerating, right, at those speeds it didn't tag Poochie, but the knife did. That's a feat for Jolene. It should be
accelerated at the same factor.
What? No. If it literally not right after that, right after he shot the gun, Poochie dodged it point blank, no diff, and then Jolene came to save him and then came to save the kid and threw a knife at his face. Here, I can provide that scan for you real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna find it real quick. Alright, here it is. Post this. Yep, right here. It's loading. So as you can see, right, normal gun, shoots him, and he just weaves out of the way like he doesn't care. And then the knife tags him. So this is where the whole logic with that falls apart. That's definitely a Jolene feat right there. Not just the whole thing spinning around. That's for Jolene. He dodges bullets that should be accelerated like to like, the infinity that they're reaching, right? But he can't dodge Jolene's knife.
Well, this is also, to some extent, you have to say that this is a factor of the situation of both attacks.
The factor of the situation of both attacks? Keep in mind, okay, so not only, right, after that attack, okay, so let's just start from the beginning, right? Okay, Emporio, he shoots his gun point blank at Poochie's face. Poochie doesn't care, he dodges it. By your logic, he shouldn't have dodged it because the speed of the bullet should have been moving to infinity and tagged him, right? So then Poochie notices that, Emporio's been taken, right? The kid's been taken. And then you literally see him fucking jump out of the way. Like, Jolene tries to attack him with something. He jumps out of the way. And he's on guard. And he still gets tagged by the knife. And he literally goes after Jolene. Like, right after. That's the whole context of that scene.
What are the speed stats for burning down the house and for stone free?
The speed stats?
Yes.
Alright, let me see them. I'm gonna pull that up. Wait a minute, burning down the house doesn't even matter. It's just a... Wait a minute, I think it's just... Yeah, it's just... let me look. Piano... Yeah, it's just a room. I don't think your stats really matter. Here, I'll post it. It's literally just a room. It still doesn't apply.
Well, it's not merely just a room. He could interact with ghost objects.
Okay.
I was not sure whether or not this gun was an actual gun.
It is
or
a gun.
if it was a ghost of a gun.
That is a gun.
Well, at that
Even
point,
if it were a ghost
so
of a gun, it'd still be moving at the speed of a normal gun because it's never explicitly said that any of these speeds are amplified by burning down the house at all. It literally speed stat says none. It literally says none for everything.
Well, in that case, we can assume it's a normal gun, whether or not it is.
Yeah, so there's proof that it's a normal gun though. Either way, and Poochie, by your logic, he shouldn't have been able to dodge that shit point blank due to the infinite speeds that time was moving. And he still gets tagged by the knife.
You must have gotten me wrong there. Basically, at this point, everything is being accelerated, but that doesn't mean that everything is at the same speed yet.
What? No, you're literally contradicting yourself then. Because earlier, because when I brought up the point with the knife, you disagreed with that. You said the knife was moving at those speeds, right? Whether it's accelerating or fully up to the acceleration possible. But then when I bring up the Emporio gun shit, you get you pretty much go and be like, actually then, is that a real gun? This and that. You start questioning it.
Let's just say that earlier at this point I was wrong, but what I'm saying here is that everything is accelerating at a certain rate.
Yeah.
But that is basically still influenced by what the initial speed of the objects is.
Well, I got a question for you.
And a gun would be far slower than a stand. And Made in Heaven is probably the fastest stand.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying, okay, I don't think you get the point here. It doesn't matter whether that bullet, because I'm literally going by logic, right? It doesn't matter how fast that bullet is, right? It should still be moving at those accelerating speeds, okay? It should still be moving at those accelerating speeds, regardless of its speed or not. Because that's the point you try to argue in the beginning. And I argue, literally, you said that, you didn't like how Jolene tagged him with a knife, and you tried to apply that argument. But then I tried to go up here, right? Normal gun, and Poochie just dodges that shit point blank. and that gun should be moving at accelerating, like, infinite speeds, given by what you try to argue in the beginning, is what I'm saying.
Well, at this point, the speed isn't infinite yet. It
What?
is clearly immeasurable at this point, but infinite, not quite yet.
Okay, then. So what you're saying it's not infinite, not quite yet?
The planet is still in its it seems still mostly normal, except of course that everything is quite chaotic.
I don't think I agree with that.
If it was infinite yet, the planet would already be gone.
Nah, I don't really agree with that notion. Because you're saying, like, okay, let me go back up to the chart, right? Keep in mind he's still accelerating time to infinity, and it says in the stat that his speed is infinite, so the planet was already moving at those speeds from the get-go. You can even see, like, in the middle of the fight, like, how the sun is just passing by, like, multiple, like, times, like, incredible speeds, by the way. And then when he travels back in time, that's where it literally just immeasurable at that point. That's literally immeasurable.
I think you're missing the point here.
All right,
The sun eventually turned into what was basically just a loop at the sky. But at first, you just see it zooming around the planet at high speed. At least that it appears like that. It's not literally zooming around the planet.
Yeah, no. So
but you get what I mean.
Okay, so that's what you mean?
Yeah, so basically, it's still reaching higher speeds here. And the initial speed of the bullet and the initial speed that Made in Heaven should have still differ. And Poochie, as a stand user, would already have heightened reaction speeds.
That's what you're saying? You'd have, like, heightened reaction speeds? Dio, you there? Well...
Well, another factor for this situations here is the following. At the first one, it is basically one attack. But in the second one, we have basically Poochie being surrounded by attacks, and he might not have been aware of the knife at the right point. And that would then explain how it was able to hit him.
Nah, because even then, I actually have to disagree with that notion, because Poochie, literally the whole fight has been on guard with literally all the characters. Even, like, when he reacts to, like, Jolene, he literally weaves out of the way of those punches. He's still on guard, but he still gets tagged with a knife. Like, and literally, I could show him earlier in the fight, right, that not only was he prepared for Jotaro's time stop, right, that Jotaro, like, he literally threw knives at Jolene just so Jotaro would save Jolene and then they all would die, basically. Like, he's prepared for, like, all of that fight. He's on guard completely.
Being on guard does not mean that it's impossible to get surprised by something.
Yeah, but he's moving at infinite, like immeasurable speeds, I mean. And he's already way faster than all of them. And he blitzed all of them like no diff. Even, like, Star Platinum couldn't even touch him. And we already know that, Stone Free, right, is slower than Star Platinum because it has a B in speed. And we already know he's on guard, too. So there's no way he's off guard.
Wait, what did you just say?
What do you mean?
I think I misheard you here.
I said...
Could you repeat what you said last?
I said that... Okay, so... Here, I'm going to repeat this, right? So, Poochie's on guard the entire fight, and he's prepared for Jotaro's time stop, so he throws knives at Jolene, right? So that Jotaro would go and save Jolene, and they would all die. Now, as soon as time unfreezes while Star Platinum's in the middle of getting ready to hit, like, Poochie, right? He's already in the middle of throwing his motions of fists. Poochie dodges this casually, and just kills all of them, except for, like, Jolene, which is still alive, and the kid. Now, we already know that, like, Star Platinum has an A in speed, right? While, like, Stone Free has a B in speed. Yet, Poochie got tagged by that knife. And he's on guard.
He is on guard. The situation
so you agree that he's on guard?
Referred to. Yes, I did not disagree with that. That is not the point that I'm trying to make here. The point that I'm making here is that the first scenario, the one in which he threw the knives, that was basically Poochie taking the initiative of the fight. But at the situation that we see here, he is no longer taking the initiative, but forced to react.
Yeah, we already know he's faster than them. Like, I can post that. We already know he's way faster. He bowled everyone. Want me to post it?
I don't see what exactly you're trying to get at, but just post it.
Okay.
I will see.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me look here. Because not only did that happen. Yeah, that happened too. I'm going to put that in there too. Alright, I have all of them. Alright, I'm going to post them. Alright, here you go. 6 pictures. Or scans, I mean. Okay, so here I'm gonna go and explain what really happens from like start to end. Okay, so Jotaro stops time. All right, now literally Poochie had enough time, right? Like with his immeasurable speed, right, infinite speed, he had enough time to literally grab Jolene's stand out of her and put like Jolene's stand's hand through Anasui, and time stopped, and throw knives above Jolene just in case Jotaro stopped time at that moment. Jotaro, he saved Jolene, right? And then, right as the fists, right, were about to reach Poochie. Well, hold, I'm still talking. Wait, hold on. So, right when the fists were about to reach Poochie, right, Poochie just dodges out of the way and says you're 2 steps, like, too late, right? And then he proceeds to literally one-shot everyone in one go. Like, no diff. One-shots them. Like, verbatim, we can see it.
Sure, but have I heard you correctly? Did you say he does this in stop time or before stop time?
What do you mean?
I think I just heard you say he does this within stop time.
No, I meant like before.
But I'm pretty sure that's not what you said.
No. I meant like before stop time. That's where he threw the knives. You can see.
So basically, it was a trap he set up for Jotaro.
The trap he set for Jotaro? Well, that's a trap. Well, keep in mind, that's a trap they set for him too. You realize that, right? Because they let him out into the ocean because they wanted to see his movements, but in the end that backfired them because they couldn't see his moves at all because how everything was accelerating to infinity. So it was a plan on their part too.
Still, he set up the situation with the knives.
Yeah, but he's still way faster than him. You can't get around that point. He's still faster. Like, he literally doesn't care about, like, Jotaro's, like, Star Platinum strikes at all, and just completely just one-shots him.
Well, we have to also consider if everything speeds up, then eventually at one point, everything will be closer to one another in speed.
What?
And the earlier something happens...
No, I don't agree with that.
If the universe reaches infinite speed, why is that arbitrary?
No, because we already discussed that point earlier, but you're saying that, like, everything is getting, like... everything should get faster or something like that. It seems like you're trying to imply that to the characters, maybe? I'm not sure, like, where you're getting at with that.
Not to the characters here, but to the objects that the characters use.
Okay.
That are not stands.
Yeah? So, what are you implying?
So, it would be logical to assume that for Poochie, initially it would be easier to dodge things. But the longer the fight goes on, it should get slightly harder.
Nah, I don't agree with that.
Also,
still.
otherwise we would just... Otherwise. We have that Jotaro is being blitzed here. Are you
Bullets here. What do you mean?
insinuating that?
I'm not insinuating that at all.
Let me
Bullets
get to
here.
the point. Let me get to my point.
Alright, alright.
Jolene manages to throw the knife at him, but Jotaro is being blitzed here.
Yeah?
The thing is that with her inferior speed stat, otherwise you could not explain how that was even possible.
Yeah, we could just call that like an outlier, though. But I'm saying it happened, though. That's what I'm saying. It did happen, and she did do it by herself. Like, it happened, but you can still argue that's an outlier. Oh, wait a minute.
My guy, he's gone.
Damn.
Yeah.
Ripping pepperoni.
Oh, my goodness. We didn't even get to the other points.
Yeah, I feel like
How many comments has he made?
Oh, you can check the
Oh wow,
above.
That's it? That's all his comments?
we get a heat boner for you.
Because, like, I remember I had, like, I think it was, like, an 80 comment debate that I eventually got to get into Discord, and we just hashed it out, like, friendly. I didn't have to call in to have a real debate.
Yeah. I'm not done yet, though. Oh, my goodness.
I think you guys should just hash it out alone. I think it'd be a lot friendlier.
I guess. Oh, he's interrupted.
Make a buddy out of it.
Yeah, make a bud. Alright, I think he's gonna come back in, so I'm gonna wait for him.
Yo, Fafnir is afraid of the Connect Four smoke.
Connect 4.
That game is just like a rip.
Yeah. Alright, so where were we, Dio?
What?
Oh, I said where were we again?
We were at the point Jolene throwing the knife. The knife, in difference to Jolene and Star Platinum and Stone 3, is being accelerated. Therefore, should have better chances at hitting Poochie than any other attack.
Well, in my opinion, we can't rely on chance because we can know definitively, right, that still Poochie blitzed everybody. Not to mention since going by your logic, right, since everything is accelerating, including like the object that they're using, that must mean that they're all moving at the same exact speed. It doesn't matter how fast they were before, and regardless.
No, I said that they get closer to reaching the same speed.
Nah, they all move like they're all accelerating at the same speed. Nah, I don't agree with that.
At
They're
the
getting
same
closer
rate.
to it. Yeah, that's a bit iffy right there. I'd say that everything else on the planet is moving at the infinite speeds. They're all moving at that speed. Poochie dodges, like infinite speed bullets, right? These are normal bullets, point blank, but he literally doesn't dodge a knife that's thrown by Jolene. I'm just basically saying, right, that happened.
Then
And yes, you can call it an outlier, but that's definitely a feat for like Stone Free. For
a
sure.
bullet from a normal gun.
Yes, they're all
Or
moving at the
knife
same
thrown by a
speed. Doesn't
stand.
matter how fast they were
Which
before.
one is faster?
No,
under
it doesn't
normal
matter.
circumstances?
It doesn't matter which one was faster before. Everything else is accelerating at the same speeds. Like it's literally verbatim
Can you
said.
prove that everything at this point is already at the same speed?
What? No. Okay. Look at the. Here, I'm gonna read it out for you. So right. So if we look right here, all right, it's okay. Look at Made in Heaven, right? The top scan. It says accelerating time to infinity, and it's accelerating everything with it. Okay. Now, let's see here. We go over here, and it says the power of the Earth and Moon and basically the whole universe to increase the speed of time. No living organism is able to keep up. The only one who can like move freely within it is Poochie, essentially God himself. So everything is literally speeding up at the same rate, pretty much. They're all pretty much accelerating infinite speeds. It doesn't matter how fast they were before. It's kind of like, how can I put it? Well, let's say this, right? Let's say there's a train and a car, Okay, we already know that this. Well, let's say this. How about better? Bullet train. There, bullet train in a car. Now it wouldn't matter. Like, let's say it's a fucking Jeep, right? It's a fucking slow car. That car is going to be moving at the same speeds as that bullet train because everything is accelerating to the same infinite speeds. They're all the same. They're all accelerating the same. It doesn't matter what they were before. And Poochie's faster than all that. That's basically what I'm saying.
I think this is. How do I put? This entire topic is quite assumptuous.
I think you're making assumptions here, man. I think this is proof that I've been posting this whole time.
Going by what you said, it should be literally impossible to touch Poochie. Yet it happened.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, it can be called an outlier because it only happened literally once. And I'm saying it did happen, but hey, it could be an outlier also. But that's what I'm arguing, that it did happen though. And I'm saying that Jolene has those like kind of speeds though. I'm just saying, hey, it happened, and it's definitely a feat for her. But you can also like, just leave it as an outlier. And the things in fiction, right? Sometimes they're not supposed to make usually in fiction, it's not always supposed to make sense, if that makes sense, right? Like some crazy shit happens and be like, it's like a chart, right? If there's something that's super consistent with something, right, and then some random shit happens just once, right, out of let's say like 50 like points, we could just say that's an outlier because that's some crazy shit that contradicts some other stuff, but it still happened.
I guess we can leave it at that.
All right. So the third point was stand stats like always being like subjective towards like stands and their abilities, right? Like, what's your point on that?
Yes, as I pointed out, Whitesnake's initial stand was based on its acid-based ability, the one that basically was it causing a dream or more a loop? I think a dream was more befitting. His initial stand speed stat was based on that, even though it contradicts its actual speed. And we see this with stats for stands a lot, technically, that they do not necessarily make sense.
So, okay. Here, I'm going to tackle this white snake example real quick. So, I'm going to say this real quick, okay? Give me a sec. Just moving real quick. Okay. So, the white snake example. If the white snake example is what you mean, like of stand stats almost always being subjective, then I personally have to disagree because, like, the stand description of white snake never says or refers to the reason why it has a D in speed is because of the acid. Plus, this doesn't break speed scaling at all because even if it did, like, refer to the acid, right? It's stated later that Poochie planned to steal like Jotaro's like memory and stand disk in an exact situation. Plus, we know that memory disk will like perish if the person perishes with it. So it can be argued that he wasn't even trying to kill like Jolene and Jotaro like with the acid, but just to weaken and confuse them, which I can show real quick.
Well, I never said anything that would be wrong.
Okay. I'm still posting it real quick though, so. But I mean, anyway, well, actually, you're just arguing the notion though.
Could you repeat that?
Huh?
Could you repeat that?
What, the point that I just put to your point, basically?
No, what you said last.
Huh? That you're arguing the notion of it, though. That you're saying that, well, basically, if I go back up to your third point, you're saying that it's always subjective, like, towards, like, the... Let me go back to your third. Let me see here. Let's go back on that one. So you're saying that stand stats are always, like, subjective towards their stands and their abilities, and use Whitesnake as an example, right? And you said that there's many others, but you don't give any other examples, if that makes sense. You only give Whitesnake. So, like, if that's the only example you have, then I could really say it's an outlier, too.
Prime example, if we want to put it this.
I mean, it's not really a prime.
For example, if we go for Gold Experience Requiem, all his stats say basically null.
Yeah.
That is literally because the stand technically, if you go about it, does not require any of the stats with its ability, or at least that's how I see it.
Okay, but what does this have to do with the speed of Whitesnake?
Well, this is a different example.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with Whitesnake here.
Alright.
Gold Experience Requiem technically still possesses speed and all these other variables.
Yeah.
We are basically just not given any of these.
Okay.
Because it's literally no longer necessary.
Yeah, but those are like those kinds of stands, right? Those are like, I mean, they're in their own type of like tiering, if that makes sense. But like, if you're trying to say that for like it's, let's say, the majority of stands, and I just disagree. And not to mention, if we go back to the Whitesnake point, right, with the speed, like it has a D in speed, right? It like you don't even see any like time, right, where it's like it hints at like its speed of its acid supposed to move that fast at all. And once again, right, he wasn't. There's proof that he wasn't even trying to kill like Jolene and Jotaro with the acid. There's like a lot of proof for that, because he was trying to get Jotaro's memory disk and stuff. And he even said that when they escaped, it was all according to his plan. It was all planned.
I think this does not really lead to anything. I did not say that it was not according to his plan. Neither did I say that he planned to dissolve them.
No, but like, okay. But the thing is about Whitesnake is that you were implying that his, you know, like his acid, right? It's supposed, like you're saying, because this is like one of the notions, right, that you're trying to like disagree with me with was about the stands moving like, you know, faster than light or faster than light, right? And he said, what about his acid, right? And like how fast would that move? And you're saying that it's tied to his stand stat, which when we look at it, right, it literally says waits till like one like is asleep before stealing their soul and turning it into discs, you know. So there's no like time like or application of the speed of the acid being applied there. Even if it was applied to be that fast, we already know that he wasn't trying to kill them with the acid. He was trying to like weaken them and steal Jotaro's stand disc.
I mean, this argument is basically the same as one would say that, for example, Fugo is capable to control the intensity of his stand's virus, what he...
Yeah.
Feeling this point here,
What?
this part of the debate just reached a standstill.
A standstill?
Yeah.
What do you mean by
It's
that?
not really moving, well, at this point.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, like, I'm the one presenting, like, all the evidence and points here, so. And I'm providing pretty good arguments for them.
I would not agree about every here.
But you have, like, no evidence, though. Like, if anything, I could probably just call you with Hitchens' razor. Like, you have a claim with no evidence, and I dismiss it with, like, no evidence. If that makes sense. But we can go on to another point if you're done with this one.
The point I'm trying to make here is that Whitesnake's speed feats contradict this stat.
And what speed feats does it have that contradicts it?
For example, the part during the breakout from the punishment ward.
The breakout from the punishment
At
ward?
one point, he basically does substantial damage to almost everyone at the area.
What do you mean?
I mean that they cannot react in time, and mostly everyone took a wound that either temporarily take them out of commission or in some cases would have been lethal.
Yeah.
before anyone can properly react. This would not be possible with a D in speed.
But okay, so are you talking about like the scans I showed, or a different part in that arc?
No, a different part.
Can you show scans of it, please?
I'm talking about the point when Jolene broke out of the punishment, the confrontation in which Foo Fighters
Yeah.
is killed. Would that be a coherent example for a D
Where Foo
in
Fighters is
speed?
killed? Well, Foo Fighters was tricked, if I last remember. So that's probably actually I think that was the reason why Foo Fighters even lost. Actually, Foo Fighters was tricked because Foo Fighters thought it was Weather Report when actuality it was Poochie, and Poochie just folded like what? Not Weather, I mean Foo Fighters. That's just I'm putting the context in that situation. Foo Fighters literally thought that like Weather Report was there and his friend was. So it is like he was tricked basically.
Might be the truth, yes, but essentially, he afterwards set the time to also do damage to Anasui and Jolene before anyone could react to that.
But the thing is with like an Nestle Jolene is that Jolene was boxing with him and she was folding him. And literally Poochie had to take a disc, like he had to throw Jotaro's like memory disc inside like Anasui. I'm pretty sure there's a scan up above that shows that, or below I think, but literally he throws it into like fucking oh okay, you can see right there, last scan, right? She's asking what did he just throw away, right? And he told like her that he just threw like, you know, the memory disc of like Jotaro, right, into Anasui who's on the ground. Because, you know, literally Jolene was folding him. You can literally see, look at Jolene and then look at Poochie. Literally, Poochie's, like, got the shit beat out of him. He's bleeding all over, and, like, you just see Jolene kind of bleeding at the side a bit, a teeny bit. And she's the one who, like, Poochie was getting super hurt in that fight. Like, he was getting folded. He definitely wasn't faster.
I did not argue that he was faster. I merely said that for a D in speed, this scene is rather questionable.
I mean, it's not questionable since he's way slower than Jolene. He had to literally resort to throwing a disc into a dying person to get Jolene off of him. So, and she has to be in speed.
Well, let me think of another example then.
I mean, you can think of all these examples, but it's literally just shown right there. It's pretty concrete, man. Yeah, I can post more stuff of that fight. Like that fight's literally no joke. Like, Jolene is straight up, like, giving him the hands.
One question.
Here, hold on.
This regards Emperor.
Wait, hold on a minute. Alright, there you go. I posted that too for even more context, right? See Jolene folding him, throws the disc, get her off of him. He's getting the shit beat out of him. So, that's that right there. I think that's pretty definitive. But yeah, what was you gonna say?
Yeah, what were the stats of Emperor exactly?
Emperor? You mean the one with the kid?
The one from part 3, the gun.
The gun? Well, the thing
Yes.
is about part 3 is that they didn't have like stand stats back then, but they only had them in the guidebooks. So I'm not sure about that. So that's something we both don't know right now. But what we can refer with proof.
It is reasonable to assume that stand stats prior to part 5, where they were formally introduced, are questionable.
You mean they're questionable back then? Well, you don't know that yet. You're just making a claim with like no evidence. You're thinking that they're questionable. You haven't seen like the guidebooks or anything. They could actually make sense for all you know. You don't know that. That's just you making an assumption. And if you
You
want
basically just stated that we cannot trust this.
trust what?
This stance that's from the guidebook.
What? I never stated that we cannot trust the stance stats from the guidebook. I'm saying that neither of us know the information in the guidebooks to make an assumption on it. You're like literally making an assumption of like, oh well, if there's a guidebook on part 3, that has to be inconsistent. I'm like, well, I'm going to defend that because we don't know if it's inconsistent or not. That's something that has yet to be proven.
Well, if I remember correctly, the precision and growth potential were both E, what is basically a stigma in part 4.
In part
That
what?
is given to many stats.
In part 3
But
or 4?
a D in precision wouldn't really, an E in precision wouldn't really make sense here.
I'm not defending the precision. The main thing I'm defending for the stats is speed. I don't know what you're talking about with those.
I just said that the stats of a stand are not the most reliable source for what they actually can do.
Well, it depends because it can be like all the stance stats, right? They are definitely, I'd say most of them are reliable sources, right? Because most of them still scale properly. I have a lot of examples of why they do. I already know you've seen my video of how they still do, like clear like evidence. But the whole horse thing, right? So wait, you said there's something that didn't make sense, right? About its speed?
I didn't speak about his speed, but about his precision.
His precision.
He was capable of basically moving around a bullet in like a few centimeters and back to its original path
Yeah.
around the blade of Silver Chariot.
Okay.
This is not really a feat that would make sense if his stance precision was E.
So
They are typically, we cannot 100% say what this means, but some people argue it's about reaction speed, some argue it's about literal precision, but both would really not make sense at this point. If we are talking about Silver Chariot, one of the fastest stands, and Emperor basically just evading the blade's trajectory.
yeah, because Emperor is faster. It was just introduced, and not to mention you didn't even put a scan of the stance stats for like the Emperor gun. So, I mean, I can't really take what you say with
please. This will not take too long.
that. All right.
Well, this is... I found it. Problematically, I did not find the translated version.
Okay.
This is not the highest quality, but from the placement of the stats it should be obvious.
Emperor. Wait, did you screenshot that?
Yes, I just screenshotted that.
Well, I could just go to the website real quick and get a better look at that. It's hard to see that. Emperor. So it has a B in destructive power, B in speed, and B in range, C in persistence, and B in precision. No, E in precision, and then like it has a E in developmental potential. Okay.
Exactly.
So, and what you're trying to argue again for that? That's inconsistent?
that the precision
The precision.
that is given for him does not make much sense.
So you're saying it just doesn't make sense, and then you try to apply that to all the stands of why most, like, the
Not
majority
all
of
the
them can't be
stands,
trusted?
per se. I'm just saying that depending on the stand can be interpreted differently.
So you're saying it can be interpreted differently.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, I think I see what you mean, though. Like, so, because it has that and it doesn't... Well, the thing about, like, what was it? If I go back to... You said precision, even precision. Okay, so that does make sense, right? Because he does do some, like, precise stuff. And the only thing I can say for that part is that I think part 3... Yeah, part 3 is literally the one part where, like, Araki introduced stands in the power system. So I could say for that part, it would make sense to have some inconsistencies there. But if you go from part, like, 4 and up, like, everything else, like, makes sense, right? So if I take a look, right, it says a B in speed, but we already know Silver Chariot, like, has, like, you know, at least an A in speed, and, like, you know, gets blitzed by the bullet. Like, keep in mind, this is Silver Chariot with its armor off, so that's one example of inconsistency right there, but it makes sense to give it to that part. Because Araki was still, like, trying to figure out what he was trying to do with the stands in the power system.
You're getting the point that I'm trying to make here.
What do you mean?
We're agreeing on the point that early stand stats aren't as reliable as later ones.
Well, I mean, technically that wasn't your point. Your point was mainly just for, like, the majority of JoJo, like, when it comes to the stats, like, you know, being subjective. But I can say that we can make a new point saying, you know, these stand stats, like, earlier on JoJo, like, part 3, only part 3, basically. That's where you can say, sure.
I mean, essentially every author develops and gets better at what he's doing.
Yeah.
Especially when he, gets deeper into the power system.
All right. So we agree that we can only, like, we can just apply that to part 3 only.
Well, potentially some aspects of part 4, but I would have honestly to look for them if I wanted to see them.
Okay. All right. So you had a fourth. You want to move on to your fourth point?
The fourth point, let me check what that was. One second, I look at where I supposedly... what exactly my words were. Well, I have to correct myself on this one partially.
Okay.
The thing with the after image is technically that the stand is not just moving extremely quickly, but changing between quick and fast movements initially. So I have been somewhat wrong on this point.
Okay.
On top of that, well, what I applied here was for normal sensory organs for now, but we cannot fully say how this works for a stand user, so we can basically say this point was wrong.
So, point 4,
And
your point was...
regarding the fifth one,
Wait, before we move on, so you said point 4, right? Stands should have, like, after images if they're really fighting at the speed of light. Your point was wrong. Okay. So, alright. So your
we
fifth point?
cannot necessarily say what exactly a stand is if we want to go into that, so we cannot say that they would behave like normal, what we normally would see through light.
Okay, but, you know, appeal to reality, it's not, like, you're just using, like... like everything in real life
I
just to
just said
downplay
that
it.
reality does not technically apply here.
Yeah. So, I think we got that point down though. Alright, so you're on to your last point, right? The fifth point? Like Mista video contradicts Mista's ability in the narrative?
Yeah.
Alright, so what's your
Do the
argument for that?
following. You take this point and you throw it right into the garbage bin. Can you do that for me?
What? That fifth point? That you try
Yes.
to argue? Oh, so you don't agree with that at all?
Yeah, that one was basically a misconception completely.
Yeah. Alright, so that should be all of this debate then. I think everyone can mute. I mean, judges give your input and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like one side had a lot of evidence, and I didn't see a lot of evidence from the other side, which seemed kind of weird. However, you were open and understanding of new ideas, enough to the point to where you were okay with at least admitting you were wrong in a certain field because the data showed you otherwise. So that's commendable.
Yeah. Alright. Tuck, Don?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say you presented the evidence very well, and that there wasn't a whole lot of debate, more of a misunderstanding on most parts. Dio actually did bring up a couple of good points on his arguments, so, I mean, I think it was fair all the way around.
Nice.
If I would treat this like a debate rather than a misunderstanding, then the lack of evidence on one side doesn't really matter to me since the other side didn't ask for evidence. But otherwise, I think I understand Jobber's side a bit better than Dio's.
Yeah, he was better at putting things into words, I think, and explaining his point.
Alright, with that out of the way, I hope there's no bad blood between me and you, Dio.
Well, I was open from the start of this discussion, otherwise I wouldn't have attended it.
Yeah.
I would say that I still not agree with everything here, but I think we came mostly to an understanding.